Welcome back to the opener. Tonight, we start to answer the question, can the Rays compete with the Dodgers? That series kicks off tonight. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about recent series, minor league activities, the roster as a whole, all that and more on the opener today. Will, how are you opening?
Yeah, I could open a lot of ways. I feel like it's a big one for us, right? Like you said, can the Rays compete with the Dodgers? This is a potential, if the Rays are going to be a World Series team, this is a World Series matchup. And, I know it's been a rough June, right? No doubt about it. But I think there's two things Rays fans can feel good about, right? One, the Rays are 14 games above 500, right? I think this time last season we were maybe 3 games above 500. Even during that great stretch, I think we were only about 11 games over 500. Never was sustainable, right? So we're 14 games above. Let's feel good about that. And on top of that, Ben Williamson hit his first home run as a member of the Rays. Let's go,
Yeah,
baby. The
left center also.
2026 Joey Wendell. Yeah. So, I feel like if we're feeling good about things, that's two things that Rays fans should be feeling good about tonight.
If Ben Williamson becomes Joey Wendell, that's a success. Joey, I want to say in that great year we always talk about, I want to say he had like 15 or 18 home runs.
Yeah.
He was
I
getting
think he
into his
finished third or fourth for Rookie of the Year on top of that. So
insane.
yeah.
So that Williamson homer out to left center, it wasn't like it was a cheap shot down the line. I mean, he ripped that. Ripped that. That was a great
especially in Anaheim. You could get those short walls, especially in left field and even in right field. They're both there. You could have some short walls and just kind of sneak one over, but no, he flexed it right down to left center.
That's how Joe Adell fraudulently robbed 3 alleged homers. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, Joe Adell, best defender in the world against the Rays.
Yeah, so we got a few things we want to break down. I want to start by kicking off a little bit with talking about the Rays versus the Dodgers, though. And what's fun for us is we have got essentially our big three starters are going in this series against the best lineup in baseball. A Dodgers team that has a run differential of like plus 150, which is absurd. And the Dodgers have not their best. They have Lauer going tonight, Robleski tomorrow, who has been good, but the underlying stuff, not quite as good. He doesn't really strike anybody out, which I don't think that matches up well against us. So I think we're going to slap it all over the yard. We'll see. But then Wednesday you get Shohei. So always got to circle that. We're going to be staying up late this week watching these games. I mean, how can you not? Maybe I'll doze off if we're down 8. But so I'm just really interested to see how this team matches up because we talked about, making some trades for like starters like Skubal or, Joe Ryan or Freddie Peralta, some of these guys that we think might be on the block. We're going to see tonight just what Nick Martinez can do, the changes he's made against a potential World Series matchup team, and I'm nervous about it. So, I don't know. What do you think as we get into a series that I think every team always highlights when you play Los Angeles?
Yeah, I think, it's a primetime game. It's on ESPN tonight. So, right, it's one of those games where if you don't know how the Rays play and they play a good brand of their baseball, they're going to be put on the map a little bit more. But it's also kind of what you said. It's almost like an audition for Nick Martinez and even, Shane McClanahan and Drew Rasmussen, right? Said in an opening, this is a potential World Series. This is the best team in the National League, right? No ifs, ands. I know there's
Braves
the Brewers
might argue, but I'm with you.
The Braves are good, but if we're talking about, they're the back-to-back champs. You can't just take that away from them, right? So I think, Drew Rasmussen could definitely throw against the Dodgers. I'm not concerned. He's picked it up. We're going to talk about him a little bit later. Shane McClanahan is still looking great, even if he didn't have that best start against the Angels. He still looked good. The question is really Nick Martinez, right? Can you limit the hard contact? Can you keep your soft contact? Can you limit the walks like you've been doing? And if he pitches really good tonight, and when I mean good, I'm talking, 6-7 innings, maybe 1-run baseball, limiting the walks, a couple hits, things like that. The Rays probably looking, probably don't really need that extra, top rotation guy, right? They don't necessarily have to go after a Tarek Skubal. They might go for like a Joe Ryan, instead, who's probably not the cheapest guy still, but
he has another year of control as well. So the price is going to be
a little
high.
cheaper than Skubal. But you start looking, there's a lot of teams that are going to have pitchers available. Sandy Alcantara, he's had his best season, but he's also an option, right? So it just kind of changes the way the Rays look at it. Will you need a starter to pitch, one of those first 3 games in a wild card or a division series or a CS? Or can you get kind of a back end rotation guy that maybe you could slot in, for game 4 if you have to, or even like a bulk inning guy. So it's definitely, this isn't a game that's just, oh, it's the middle of June, it's just a game against a National League team. This is actually seeing if the Rays are legit in terms of can they win a World Series.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is the best team. The Yankees are really good. We've done well against the Yankees. Part of that was Trot Buff early in the year when we were playing well, and we were really floating, with our style of offense. But I think, this is hands down the best team we've played so far. We played the Brewers too early for us to really have any. We looked awful during that Brewers series, but that was like the second week of the year when we hadn't found our identity quite yet. So, yeah, I agree with a lot of what people are saying. Rays fans are saying that we need to upgrade the offense, especially the outfield. The outfield is last in power. I think it's second to last in OPS. It was somewhere around there. I got to talk a little bit about Chandler again in a minute, who did rob a home run in the Angels series, as we've seen his defense and the metrics improve, which is great. I'm come back to Chandler in a second. So if it wasn't Nick Martinez, right, for your big three, it was going to be Ryan Pepio, who's out for the year. And I feel a lot better with Ryan Pepio on the mound. He's not an ace, but he's a really good 2. And Martinez has broken out this year, but he doesn't have the... I'm trying to think about exactly how I want to say this. Like, just straight up, I'd rather have Joe Ryan starting, even if his numbers are worse this year than Nick Martinez, than I would Nick Martinez. Happy to have Nick Martinez come in and have a few innings in the middle of a game. That's great. But so tonight's a really big test for him, and we'll see what he can do against the Dodgers. So I'm excited for this series. Obviously, Shohei on Wednesday is going to be electric. I hope he hits and pitches so we can just get the full experience against the little Rays. So looking back at how, we haven't had a pod in almost 2 weeks here, I think, and it's not been great for the Rays lately, to be honest. We knew that we were playing above our level to start the year. It's been a little rough lately. Now, thankfully, we swept Boston, who is, I think at this point, the worst team in the AL East. I think we've determined that something's just funky over there. It's just not right over there, and they're probably gonna sell some pieces, I would imagine. I heard them talking about trying to add, but I don't think that's realistic. What stood out for you over the last couple weeks? I'm sure that there's obviously some positives in there, but just generally about the team, what have you seen lately?
Yeah, it hasn't been a good brand of baseball. It's actually kind of reminding me of the beginning of the season when the Rays weren't playing good. The pitching is taking a bit of a step back, which you kind of expected, right? You didn't think Nick Martinez was going to have a sub-2 ERA all season long, right? It seems like it's starting to turn a corner. The bullpen's starting to look, kind of like it's fixing itself a little bit. I really don't like all the options we have in the bullpen. I feel like the bridge to get to Brian Baker is just kind of a broken bridge, right? Clevenger it doesn't really look... He had a really good appearance in the Angels game. Again, it wasn't very high leverage situation.
The bridge right now is Kevin Kelly.
The bridge is your favorite player in the world, of Kevin Kelly.
I was so wrong.
Who is absolutely, without a doubt, the second best arm in the Rays bullpen. And I think partially that is because the Rays keep taking these guys and making them starters, right? Joe Boyle you could have had probably in the bullpen if you want to, and he's been working out of there in Durham. But he was a starter, right? You had Griffin Jacks there, who wasn't really looking good as a reliever, and now he's a starter. Angler was kind of a reliever, more like a bulk inning guy, and he's kind of like a tandem starter right now. So the Rays, it seems like they're focusing a lot on making sure they have guys that can go length, but the bridge to get to Brian Baker is not a very good bridge to get there. So I'm hoping they look for some relief pitching in the trade market, and to kind of keep it going with some of the issues they've had is, and I'll set you up here for what you want to talk about, but runners in scoring position is just non-existent, right? They're just, they're just not getting that big hit. And they got it against the Angels in that last game, right? Junior went yard and Mason Jr. went yard. Aranda, is an RBI machine, but they just aren't playing their small ball approach that they started with, right? They're striking out a little bit more. Junior's back to grounding into double plays. We really hadn't seen that a whole bunch at the beginning of the season. And lately, it seems like every time he's just getting right on top of the ball, straight to shortstop. I noticed in that last game, every time Cedric Mullins got on first, he stole second, so Junior wouldn't ground into a double play because it's happening so much. And to kind of set you up, and I'll pass it over to you, is Chandler is lifting the ball way too much for his batter profile. Chandler's bat fits into this team scheme, right? Low strikeout, get on base, right, and kind of do your thing from there. But when you're someone like Chandler, it just doesn't have the power, right? It's nothing to say bad about Chandler, but he has one home run in his entire, like, I think minor league career. You know, he doesn't have the power, and he's just lifting the ball too much. And you know, he needs to get on top, right? Hit it on the ground, hit some line drives, getting under it. Chandler will never hit a home run out of the park. It's just not going to happen. And he's just.
I think he will.
Yeah, maybe. I think
like
his chance is gone.
Yeah, I think he'll hit a couple.
But I'll pass to you. But yeah, he's just lifting it way too much for his batter profile.
Yeah, I mean, we know that's not what he's here to do. That's not what he's trying to do. He's here to get on base. Well, what's his on base percentage right now? 303. 303, which is just, candidly, Chandler's electric. I really like Chandler as a player on this team. 303 is unacceptable. That is getting to the point where it's just not going to work anymore. And we've been on him for like a good month plus, and he hasn't really. He did come up big against the Angels, which, you know, ultimately I think helped spur the offense to come up big in the 8th, where we put up 5. Last year he had a 326 on base, and even then that wasn't enough. And now it's down to 303. So clearly, maybe I could look a little deeper into what's happening here, but just by watching the games, you can see that pitchers are starting to figure out how to get him out. And we know that defenses were going to adjust quickly, and they have taken away some of his bunt opportunities. There's been a couple times where he's lined one to third base, which is usually kind of an open hole. It's been caught. That happened against the Red Sox, where Caleb Durbin was right there. So now that there's more data on Chandler, he's really starting to struggle. And my opinion is that once Jacob Melton, who's working through rehab, I think it was his second start in rehab today, had a 112-mile-an-hour single, I want to say it was. I saw that on Twitter. My opinion is we need to send Chandler down for a while and bring up Melton and let Melton have some time, you know, give him 6 weeks in the show and just see if the power pans out. It's a little antithetical. Is that a word? I'm trying. Haven't read a book in a little while, but what I'm getting at is, you know, Melton's play style is not exactly what this team is built around. But we need some more power and production in the outfield. And if Melton is the equal or close to defender that Chandler's been, the reason Chandler's still up is because of the defense, which has improved. And I got to give him a ton of credit for that, how quickly he's turned that around. That was my bigger concern, frankly, than the on base. I thought he would improve his on base percentage into the 340s this year. And I just think we've got to send him down for a little bit and let him. Now, he should have options, right? I'm saying this. Yeah. There's no way he has to have options, right? Okay. I just, you know, I never want to do that. I always want to give, like the Rays do. They're so good at giving players time to become themselves, and I just think we need a little reset for Chandler, and let's try Melton up there. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and I don't think it's a bad thing to say that Chandler probably needs to go to AAA just to kind of reset outside of the show, right? More pressure on the show. If you go back to, you know, Durham, you really don't have the pressure. Right? It doesn't matter if you win or lose the game. It doesn't matter if you have the big hit, right? It's just about your own profile and figuring yourself out. I know the defense is elite. Jacob Melton also has incredibly good defense, right? Yep. And so you're not really losing that defensive aspect. And I would like to see, you know, they traded Brandon Lau for Jacob Melton. So, you know, he's not someone you expect to just sit in Durham. I don't think, if he didn't get hurt, Jacob Melton would be on this team. There's no question about it.
I agree.
So I'm excited to kind of see him get healthy because, you know, a lot of your outfield power bats, you're looking at Jake Fraley, Jacob Melton, you can be another one. I'll even throw Johnny DeLuca in that group of your outfield power style bats have all been hurt this year, right? So, you know, I like what Chandler can be, and I thought he was going to be an all-star at the start of the season, but he's just not. I don't know if he's not seeing the ball or not figuring it out or he's trying to do too much or they're changing stuff. I have no idea, but we need to take a break from Chandler Simpson for a little bit.
Yeah. The other thing we could do is send Victor Mesa down. He does have an option.
Yep.
But I think I like what I've seen out of Victor Mesa, to be honest with you, so far. I mean, a couple home runs in a short stint. So my opinion is we should try to send Chandler down for a little bit of a reset, or you send Mesa down. I mean, they view Chandler as a more everyday player. That's Blake. I think he's played almost, if not every game. Yeah. Whereas Mesa is more of that depth. So it wouldn't surprise me if Mesa goes down instead for Melton. I got a couple of things I want to run through real quick. So we've talked about Cedric Mullins on here a few times. He's started to turn it around, which is great to see.
I wonder if there was someone that had a podcast that did a whole segment about how how Cedric Mullins was actually about to turn it around. Man, I wonder. Right. I wonder who said that.
I'm not here to stroke it live on camera, but just more than anything, it was like people just were not giving him any time at all. And like I have my moments where I'm ready to just snap and say, ship Nick Fortes to the moon or whatever. But this is a tried and true average hitter who had one great year and a plus defender. And over the last 6 weeks, we've seen both of those things. So I still wouldn't, like, if we upgrade, sure. Is Byron Buxton even going to be on the block? Maybe. But if he is, I mean, we'd be stupid not to try to go for him and put Mullins somewhere in the corner, keep him, or as a platoon kind of guy, and shift him around. I think we need to get healthy and get just some of these guys back and then see what happens. And then the other thing I need to get to is Junior. He finally got a home run, which was his first in about a month. Finally got a home run against the Angels, and you could see how much it meant to him in his reaction. I don't have any bone to pick with him offensively. I'm really impressed with the improvements in discipline and the ability to stay off the sliders and the sweepers. You have to attack him in and hard with sinkers and get him on the ground and changeups, and he's done a lot of that. So here's the thing: is what makes him partly so good is how flat his swing is. So you can't really attack him with four seamers. However, four seamers still used a lot, but they're a little bit out of fashion. That four seam ride up at the zone that like a Justin Verlander made $1 trillion off of, for example. We pitch a little differently now. There's a lot of sinkers and sweepers and seams shifted, wake change-ups and stuff that's beyond my pay grade. And because Junior's swing is so flat, he can get exposed on stuff that dips down, and that's why he's rolling it over so much. That's the technical reason why. That's not even really what my little bit here is about. I want to hand it back to you as well. My bit here is about he has got to stay in his lane defensively. It's come to a head at this point. Like, you cannot be cutting in front of the shortstop trying to make a tough pick when you have a plus defender in Walls and then a plus defender in Williamson when he's playing short. This cannot happen anymore. Like, he needs to get benched by Cash for a game or something like that, because it's just unacceptable. I know he's a young kid, and like, you see the ball coming to you, you're going to go after it. I like that mindset, but we've got to reel that in a little bit.
Yeah, I'm with you on it. We talked, I think it was the first or second episode of this podcast, about what Junior Camanero's WAR was going to be. And we both said I forget what we said, but we both said a big influence that was going to be the defensive WAR, because it looked like he was getting better with it. And, it's happened one too many times, right? If he does it one time against front of the Walls and makes a bad play, you're like, all right, like, we won't do it again. But it's happened more than one time, right? And
at least like five. At least.
When you have Taylor Walls, I know not everybody loves him. I go back and forth with my relationship.
People are noticing it this year. People are understanding it now.
Yeah, Taylor Walls is the Rays. I saw a stat, and this was probably like last week. The Rays are like 22-11 when Taylor Walls is in the lineup. He provides good at bats, right? Is he always hitting home runs or always hitting gap shots? No, but he takes good at bats. He really doesn't strike out a crazy amount, and he plays great defense. So the last thing you want to do, if you're anybody, if you notice, the pitchers never go after the ball. Sometimes they reach and pull back because the Rays tell them, don't touch the ball, right? It'll go where we want it to go. Don't touch it. That's like Junior. If I'm the Rays and we're practicing, I'm drawing a line in the dirt and in the grass. Junior, do not go past this line. Yep. This 10% of the infield is covered by Junior Caminero, and this 90% of the rest of the left side is covered by Taylor Walls. That's it. You don't touch anything else. For his bat, I think he's just trying to do too much, right? You can, for a power guy, when you haven't hit a home run in a while, when you've been struggling, and when the rest of the team is struggling, and you're kind of that franchise guy. Even though Yandy Diaz, you can make the argument, is actually the franchise guy.
Just the consistency,
right? But when you probably adds a little bit extra weight on his shoulders, thinking I need the one to be the big hit. I gotta wake this up. And he starts doing a little bit too much, right? So he's grounding over. He's chasing a little bit above the zone or down below.
Yep.
Not really concerned about him. Not every player, even Aaron Judge, when he wins MVPs, has a bad month, right? So I'm not concerned about Junior.
Not OPS, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He's still Junior's still so young, but I think this is part of like what the Rays are waiting for before they give him an extension, right?
What I counter with that though is it's not a bad time. We talked about this a little bit in one of our previous earlier, maybe it was the season preview pod or just after that, where there's kind of two ways you can look at it. You're hesitant to give him the extension because you're worried about the defense and the risk that he's going to be a first baseman or a DH within the next 2 years. On the flip side, that would be my argument to his agent is like, look, we love the bat, but we're going to give you a little discount because we don't know if you're going to hold it third, and maybe that both motivates him a little more. I think he's got plenty of motivation. He doesn't really need that. But I think you get a reduced rate right now on a 7-year deal for $110 million or whatever it might be, because we're seeing a lot. The Brewers just gave out another one of these, and it's less talented guys with it's less talented guys with less service time than Junior has.
Yeah.
But like, this seems to be the strat for a lot of these small market teams and big market teams too. The Red Sox gave the deal to Christian Campbell. He's not even playing, so there's risk, right? There's risk to it, but Junior's got enough track record where, he's going to be a Major League Baseball player and he's going to hit 40 home runs. Yeah. So I could look at it both ways.
Yeah, you're very true about that, right? In the end, Junior's bat is what matters. His defense is whatever, whether he comes to first baseman or a DH or stays at third, but his bat is what the Rays are going to be paying for. They're not paying for his defense. They're paying for 40 home runs, 120 RBIs probably, and maybe hitting about 260, 270, right? So
yeah. When you think about the roster construction, though, first base is Arana's going to be here a couple more years. Maybe we trade him in ARB2 or something or whatever it's going to be. He's older. And then Yandy, if he's going to play, which he hasn't played any defensively this year, it would be first. So he's holding up a DH spot, and we need to bring him back next year. This offense does not churn without Yandy Diaz.
No.
We are maybe never going to be able to replace Yandy Diaz when that day comes. So that's where you really need him to hold at third the best you can. You really need him to hold it third. He's got the arm strength to do it. He fucking fires the ball across the diamond. He throws it so hard. Yes, like too hard. Settle down. Let's take one less crow hop and just throw a little smoother. And next time.
Sometimes I think he does for like out of anger. And I made the play.
Yeah, he's still the franchise, right? He's still the franchise. But all right, so we talked offense. We got to talk pitching because, my God, Drew Rasmussen has been doing things that even he has not done. He's touching levels that we've talked a little bit about the pod, that his maturation as a pitcher to add the changeup, to mix in the curveball for a first pitch strike. He is firing on all cylinders because he is now striking out way more guys. He had a 13 strikeout game this past week, 13 Ks from Drew Rasmussen. The week before that, he also goes 7 against the Marlins and with one hit. Yeah. So back-to-back 7-inning outings. There's a thing called game score for pitchers, which is like, how many innings did you go, plus how many hits minus how many hits did you give up, plus how many Ks did you give up, walks, minus walks. He had 88 game score in both of those last two starts, 88 for each of them.
Wow.
Did he go 8 in the one against the Marlins? I can't remember.
I think he got pulled in the 8th.
Okay.
I think he went through 7. I got pulled in the 8th.
Yeah. So his best ever, he had a start in 2022 against the Orioles. That was a 91. That was his best start
That's when
ever.
He lost the perfect game. Or no hitter.
Do you remember this?
Perfect game. Yeah.
It might have been. It could have been.
Yeah, that was when I think he had a perfect game. It was a perfect game or a no hitter, but I think it was a perfect game. And he gave up a hit in the 9th inning and he got pulled. So
okay, you're right, because he went 8 in the 3rd. I think you're right. I think that good memory. I was just looking at the stat line and you added a very important context there. So so the last two starts have been the two best starts of his career in a row. We'll see what he does against. He gets he gets Robleski tomorrow. I think it's McClanahan versus Ohtani.
It is.
So, man, I'm just so pumped up about Drew, and I'm going to hand it over to you. And one of the things we talked about before is that he's going to hit all of his incentives this year, which means he's not going to be an $8 million pitcher next year. The contract goes up to 20. It goes up to 20, and I think we have to take it. I know you got to figure out what you're going to do, but like you cannot let a $20 million for the quality of pitcher that he has been, and the recent health has been good.
Yeah.
I think you got to take it.
Yeah, I'm kind of on board with you. You know, I think I talked in last pod that Drew was still looking good. He just like wasn't looking as sharp as he normally does. And he might have listened to the podcast and was just like, all right, let's go then.
100%.
And there's a chance he listened. I don't know. But he's gone out and
I hope not.
He's just been electric his last two starts. He is, but Drew Rasmussen is like this all-star ace pitcher on the team. And you know, it wouldn't surprise me if he gets an all-star nod again this year because he's been so good. I look at the Rays, and this is a different conversation for another time. I see 6 all-stars on the team for the Rays this year. I really don't think it's a crazy take.
I don't think you're crazy either. List them off.
I got Nick Martinez. Excuse me. No, I don't have Nick Martinez.
I thought for sure. Okay.
Excuse me. I got Drew Rass, Shane McClanahan, Brian Baker. I think Shane is going to get in. Because he's kind of that feel good story a little bit. Hasn't pitched in over 2 years, and he's looking so great as a southpaw. You know, Brian Baker's one of the best closers. And then you have the big 3, right? Junior, Aranda, and Yandy. I think are all stars. Junior right now is leading for all-star third baseman voting. But I digress. I agree 100% with you that when you look at the Rays, they really don't have a Drew Rasmussen in like ready to go, right? So I don't think it's crazy to think you pay $20 million for Drew Rasmussen for next year because he is an ace. You're telling me there's a chance next season where you still have Drew Rasmussen and Shane McClanahan, 1-2, bam, and then you have other guys, such as Ryan Pepiot coming back from injury, potential Michael Forret inside of there, maybe Brody Hopkins. I'm starting to lose out on him a little bit, but right. Or if you trade for like a Joe Ryan, right? You have Joe Ryan in there because he still has another year. So you have a really, really good starting pitching staff. And what we've seen from this year is your starting pitching staff can carry you, especially when it's a bit of a weaker league. Like the American League is a bit weaker this year. But a strong starting pitching staff can just carry you. You can ride that.
I agree. Actually, you kind of brought up an interesting point. Like, you could trade for Joe Ryan. I hate this. I love it, but I hate it. You could trade for Joe Ryan, and then you have him next. But I think he goes into ARB3, though. He's probably going to cost about $20 million.
Yeah, maybe he could.
I would consider them similar level pitchers. I would. I think they're similar. I like Drew a little better, though. Joe Ryan can't throw his four-seam as much as he used to because it's like 94. Rass has been throwing like 97 this year.
So
which
next
is
season,
insane.
I don't mean to cut you off. Joe Ryan next year
No, go ahead.
has a mutual team option of $13 million next year. It's a mutual option.
Okay.
So the Rays could actually trade for Joe Ryan this year. He's only making $6.1 million. So meaning, the Rays pay $3.5 million. And then there's a world the Rays just don't pick up that mutual option next year. Essentially, if they do, Joe Ryan's a $16.5 million pitcher, which if you kind of look what they paid Nick Martinez this season, right? That's not, or like Steven Matz, that's not like super crazy to think that the Rays would do that. But it obviously adds some questions about some other guys.
So Drew this year has a .88 whip. .88 whip. He has a
I think he leads the American League.
7%. That would not surprise me. That makes a lot of sense. He has a 27% strikeout rate.
That's crazy.
Yeah, he's got
a pitching version of Carson
He's
Wentz.
got a doesn't get on base. So Drew Rasmussen's 27.3% K rate is 82nd percentile. So remember this number, 27% K rate. Career K rate, 24. So he's striking out more guys.
Wow.
And the MLB average is 22%. And this is a guy who has that ability. He has shown this level, but just especially the recent starts, it's been a different Drew. Like, he looks so locked in right now. So locked in. I'll give you one more thing. Drew Rasmussen has 6 pitches if you count the curveball. But let's just, say, let's pull that one out for a second. Mm-hmm. So Major League average here is 100 for stuff plus, okay? His fastball is a four-seamer is 111, so 11% better than MLB average. His sinker is a 116, 16% better than MLB average. His cutter, which this shocks me, is dead even at 100, which really shocks me because he's upped the usage of the cutter a lot. Maybe it's because they're calling the slider the cutter, because his slider's got a 113 stuff plus, and his changeup has a 112. So you're talking about 5 pitches that he has that are well above MLB average, plus his location plus is a 111. So he locates 5 elite pitches 11% better than MLB average, which is just exceptional. Is there a world,
especially with the Skubal injury earlier this year, kind of limiting how many starts he has and potentially limiting how many starts he has the rest of the season? I see a world where the Tigers choose not to trade Skubal, and Skubal kind of says, well, hey, I'm not throwing more than 160 innings this season because I need to make some money in this offseason. Is there a world that Drew Rasmussen finishes somewhere in the top 3, even maybe top 1 of a Cy Young award this year?
Top 1, I'm going to say no, but top 3, I would say there is a world. He's going to need the innings, so he's going to consistently go 7, like we've seen so far. You got a guy in Cam Schlittler, who I'd say is probably the front runner. I actually I know so much more about the NL Cy Young race because you got the Miz, you got Christopher Sanchez, Ohtani. I mean, there's so much more going on over there. Let's look at AL Cy Young odds, and let me see. Okay, so here's some names. Overwhelming favorite right now is Cam Schlittler. Close behind that is Dylan Cease. After that is Jacob deGrom. After that is Gavin Williams and Brian Wu.
Wow, Brian Wu up there is kind of interesting to me. I know he hasn't been amazing this year, but we'll see. In baseball, right, a Cy Young can be determined by 2 starts, right? Like, it was Christopher Sanchez was probably the front runner, and then Miz goes 9 innings with like 14,
You're
15 Ks, and now Miz
maybe
is
the
front
best
runner.
pitching outing ever. Maybe the best pitching outing ever.
1 hit, right? 1 hit gave it up.
1 hit. I mean, 1 hit, but he faced the minimum. So Rasmussen, right now, is that according to Fangraphs, is 5th in the Cy Young. So Schlittler, Skubal, Cease, Davis Martin of the White Sox, Drew Rasmussen. Guess who's right behind Drew Rasmussen?
Give me Nick Martinez.
No.
Oh.
No, Nick Martinez is not on the list because this has projections as well, and they're not going to project him as favorable because of the low K rate.
You telling me Shane McClanahan might be on the list?
Close. He's 2 behind. It's a name we just talked about for a trade.
Oh, Joe Ryan.
Joe Ryan. So you could trade. Imagine this: you trade for Joe Ryan. You have Ryan, McClanahan. That's 5, 6, 7 in the Cy Young race right now.
That's pretty crazy. I don't think there's ever a world where a team gets 3 players in the Cy Young finish, but that'd be pretty cool if that ever happened, right?
The interesting thing is somebody like Cease also doesn't get that deep into games.
Right.
And so there's nobody here projected. Joe Ryan's projected for the most. No, Kevin Gossman's projected for 193 innings, but he's ranked 9th. There's really not that many guys here that go that deep. If Skubal was healthy, he can get to 200 innings, but the ship has sailed on that one.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do with Skubal.
Yeah. Okay. Good stuff. All right, we got to talk a little bit. So we're getting closer and closer to the draft. We're going to do a whole draft preview down the road, which we've both been preparing a lot for, and it's going to be very exciting. But we want to talk a little bit about some current prospects, and in the context for some of these, the fact that they're going to be Rule 5 eligible after this season. And so, in so many words, if you don't know what that means, after 5 years of a player being in the minor leagues, you either have to add them to your 40-man roster to protect them, and a team like the Rays wants to utilize as much of their 40-man as they can. That's part of our edge, is how good we are at. You see, this is why we keep sending guys up and down, like Angler. Come up, pitch a little bit, go back down. This is what we do. And if you don't put them on your 40-man, they go to the Rule 5 draft, and any team can pick them up. It's a draft just with an order, but Yeah, any team can pick him up. So let me read off some names for you that are Rule 5 eligible. And this comes from Evan Klosky, who covers the Rays. So
Love me some
Trey
Evan.
Morgan. Yep, Trey Morgan. Homer Bush Jr., Xavier Isaac, which is surprising to me, Brody Hopkins, Ty Johnson, Michael Ferret, TJ Nichols, Santiago Suarez, and Gary Gill-Hill. There are, in my opinion, 5 names on here that we would probably protect, if not more. So you've got to either find a spot for them, Will, and have them impact your Major League roster, or trade them. Otherwise, there's a lot of names in here that will get picked up by another team. What do you think about these guys? And take this wherever you want to go.
Yeah, I think, I'm just going to go on a little tangent, but I'm going to wrap back up to this, right? There's a lot of guys in Durham that need to show up or get out, right? The Durham Bulls, the team that is the final step before you reach the Rays, right? So if someone gets injured on the Rays, you're usually the next guy up. They're 27-42, and they're, I'm going to start naming some guys. There's a huge question mark if Brody Hopkins could be a legit starter, right? He's come through behind an opener and he's looked really, really good, but he's gone and been the starter, and he'll give up 6 walks, 4 earned runs, meanwhile striking out like 10 guys. It's so strange to me. So there's already questions about Brody Hopkins, right? Trey Morgan, who was injured, so we'll give him that, had an awful spring and has 19 strikeouts to just 3 walks this season in AAA. Trey Morgan's a guy who has had an average OBP of over 400 in his first 3 seasons in MILB. Dom Keegan is having a career low in average slugging and OPS while striking out at an alarming rate. And especially since catcher is something that the Rays always kind of like need help in every season, right? I know we got Caden Bodine and Nathan Flewelling that are kind of, next up to go. But these are guys like, Dom Keegan is someone that Rays thought was going to be the guy. So for context, since his first season in 2022, his season high in strikeouts is 97 through 77 games. We're 51 games into the MILB season, and he already has 79 strikeouts. So he's just, and like I said, everything else is a career low. And then to wrap that one up, Homer Bush Jr., who you just mentioned, he has a real path to the MLB because of outfield injuries and because of how Chandler's been playing. But he's also posting career lows. Homer Bush Jr. hasn't played in a crazy amount of games. This is his first taste of AAA, so it makes sense things are a little bit lower. But his 229 batting average is nearly 40 points lower than his previous lowest average. He has a 311 on base percentage, a 306 slugging, and a 617 OPS. So you kind of look at it, it's like, all right, you're really no different than Chandler probably. What's saving him a bit is he has 15 stolen bases, only been thrown out 5 times. Has
He's
a little
hit
bit
a couple
more
homers.
Yeah, he has a little bit more power this year than last season. So, but the reason I bring these guys up specifically in Durham, right? I could go through a whole bunch of guys in Durham if I really wanted to. All these guys are within the top 30 of the Rays pipeline, and as it stands, no one is jumping over any MLB player over there, and even there's players in Double A or even High A, Bowling Green, that can take their spots right now, right? I'm talking about like Xavier Isaac and Austin Overn over in Montgomery, right? So the Rays need to, they're not the Rays, these players need to show, either they belong or it's time to go. So the way I see it, to kind of wrap back up with the Rule 5, is the Rays need to open some spots on the 40-man roster. With how the 40-man roster looks, I actually think the Rays have way more spots than people think. I envision 13, somewhere between 10 and 13 spots opening up.
Okay.
For them. So
can you list these off here?
Yeah. So I won't name all of them because I think that maybe it might be a little too crazy. Most of them are contracts that are expiring or won't have an exercise or won't be exercised. So these are guys like Cedric Mullins, probably Nick Martinez. You have Gavin Lux, Jake Fraley, guys whose contracts are going to be done at the end of this year, right? But there's also some players that I think just are going to be probably just dropped from the 40-man or traded or moved. These are guys such as Dom Keegan, who I just mentioned, Oliver Dunn, who's over in Durham right now, and some might not like me saying this, someone like Richie Palacios, right, that are in all honesty, they're just expendable depth pieces, right? I know Richie has had some moments and he's, a bit of a fan favorite, but if we're looking at making sure to save some of these guys, right? And some names pop out more than others, right? Brody Hopkins is someone you still probably want saved, right? Xavier Isaac, you 100% want him saved. Ty Johnson, Michael Ford, TJ Nichols, these are guys that you don't want anyone touching because, especially on the pitching side, they're guys that you want to keep and develop and use because you could always use more pitching. So I see the Rays being able to open up these spots for a lot of these guys. Now, I'm sure some of them end up getting traded because if the Rays are going to compete, you want to get top prospects back for some of the guys you're going to acquire. But I don't think there's anything to worry about or fret when it comes to if a player is going to be able to be kept. I think the Rays are going to have more than enough roster spots. I think last season they only had 5 that they kept, right? So I think this year, they have a lot more flexibility when it comes to. I think last year was Braden Taylor, Jadher Arenamo. I think Dom Keegan was protected. Cooper Kinney might have been on that list as well, and might have been one other player I can't think of right now.
You make a lot of good points here. I don't see a path to the big leagues for Trey Morgan.
No.
I don't see a path there. I see one for Homer Bush Jr. Yes. Xavier Isaac, we're going to protect him because of the power profile.
Yeah.
Is he going to be able to make enough contact? Yet to be seen. Issue is Jonathan Aranda plays first base, so you're going to be looking at Xavier Isaac, as probably another year in the minors, unless who knows what's going to happen. I mean, so many things can happen, but just us talking here right now on June 16th, year 15th. Brody Hopkins is most likely going to be on the Major League roster at some point this year, in my opinion. Here's the issue with Brody Hopkins, which we've talked about a million times. He has a 20.7% walk rate in the minor leagues. 20! MLB average is 8. MLB average is 8. He is leading. I sent you this earlier. I forget exactly what it was. It was something like he has a 7% higher walk rate than the next highest in AAA. Yeah. I mean, it is crazy when you look at it that way. Does he have the best fastball in AAA? Yes, he does. Stuff plus a 131. Remember we talked about Rasmussen? His fastball is 11% better than Major League average. Brody Hopkins is 31% better, and he has so many plus pitches. He cannot find the big rectangle in the middle.
I'm pretty sure he just closes his eyes when he pitches, man, and just says, well, hopefully we get in there.
He's made some mechanical adjustments. He simplified his stride a little bit, which there were some great tweets. I wish I could credit who it was about how he's adjusted a little bit. By the way, Rays up 2-0. I don't have it on, but Rays are up 2-0 early. Let me see what happened here. Ryan Valade with a homer.
The GOAT.
Caminero doubles and Valade homers.
The GOAT.
Yeah, he is staying on this roster for
no question
a while.
He's
really
under team control
impressive.
Still.
Oh yeah. He's got. Yeah, I think this is his first full year, so he probably has 2 more years renewable after this. I don't think he'd be a Super 2. We'll see. Oh yeah. Okay, I got to get this on soon. Anyway,
422 for Ryan Valade, by the way.
Oof.
110, 109 off the bat.
That I cannot wait to watch that back.
Yeah.
All right, and so we're going through these names, and I also think that Ty Johnson, Michael Ferret, and TJ Nichols, and maybe even Santiago Suarez could get kept as well. But these guys they can pitch in the major leagues. Besides, I mean, Brody Hopkins, it's just an effectively wild situation. I think he probably would come up and be a reliever, and it would just be 2 walks in an inning, but 3 Ks, and you somehow get out of it. But Johnson, Ferret, Nichols, Suarez look like MLB caliber pitchers. Yeah. Maybe not the highest upside of Brody Hopkins, which is why he gets in top 100 lists. Some of these guys are going to have to get packaged in a trade. Some of these guys are whatever. This list is where we're going to pull from. I don't see Trey Morgan having that much value, or Gil Hill maybe not that much value. But if you want to go and get Joe Ryan, you're going to have to give up something like Ty Johnson and another AA prospect or something. A hitter that's hitting well. That's sort of the path because they're going to want somebody who could impact their major league roster, right away.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. I don't think Brody Hopkins pitches from the stretch. I think he's a windup pitcher, but I do see.
I think he might be from the stretch.
Is he? Because I know Tyler Glasnow was from the windup, and they changed him to the stretch, and he kind of fixed his control. Drew Rasmussen was from the windup. He pitches from the stretch now, and I'm wondering if he doesn't, if that is probably the next step for Brody Hopkins is let's just pitch from the stretch. There's no reason to do all this extra motion. Just stay focused on the stretch.
I think he does. Pitch from the stretch. It could also just be the fact that there's always 3 guys that he walked on base, and that's why.
That's so true.
So the I try to explain this. Obviously, you all are listening to a podcast and looking at us, but the video that went around, I see this from Baseball America. He greatly decreased how much he lifts up his front leg. So he really simplified the left leg as he's pushing towards the mound. And that seems to be what the Rays are doing at this point, because they know all of this 3 times better than we do. He's got to get ready to impact the major league roster here as soon as possible. They're going to do everything they can to get him to find the zone. Everything they can to get him to throw strikes.
Yeah, I mean, that's all you need. That's the Rays philosophy, is just throw strikes. Throw strikes and just throw it in the zone, right? And it'll work out. But
yeah,
if I can close out minor league minute real quick.
Sure. It's
not a minor league minute unless we talk about Carson Williams, man. We always got to talk about Carson because he's Carson Williams. One, I need him to shave the beard, right? He's not a vet.
It's bad.
Let's clean up the face a little bit, right? Yeah. But Carson Williams might have found his rhythm again. So in his last 7 days or 7 games, he has a triple slash slide of 263, 364, 474. So that's batting average, on base percentage, and slugging, right? So he's making contact, he's getting on base. Carson Williams is not a 290, 300 batter. He's like a 250, 270 hitter. It's just his profile, right? But, getting on base 364 is good, and slugging at 474 is really good. He has an 837 OPS right now. No, not right now, in the last 7 games.
Right.
3 extra base hits, so 2 doubles and a triple, 3 walks to 7 strikeouts. He's always going to be a guy that strikes out, but that's not a crazy differential if you're kind of looking at it, right? It's not like he has 1 walk to 11 strikeouts, right? He's a guy that's going to strike out, and I think his issue are the pitches that move across the plate, not up and down. The ones like I see a lot when I watch minor league ball, when I watch Durham Bulls, when I'm watching Carson Williams. It's the cutters and the sliders that kind of get him, right? The stuff that's up and down in the zone, it's like fastballs, sinkers, curveballs. He actually makes good contact on those, right? If he's not hitting it fair, he's fouling it off. He's really not swinging and missing on them. It's the cutters and the sliders that are going away from him. And I think if he just gets that last piece of pitch recognition, right? You can tell when it's a cutter and going away. You can tell when it's a slider and able to lay off or just fight it off. Then Carson Williams will be ready.
Yeah, that's the leap that we've seen from Junior this year.
Yeah,
is the ability to stay off those sliders and sweepers away more often.
Yeah. And again, Carson is still so young, and I think myself, I'm included in this. Maybe jump the gun with him a little bit, thinking, all right, he's barely hitting in Durham. He doesn't hit when he's on the major league roster. Maybe he's just not the guy, but he's still so young that I think it's maybe a little crazy until he's like 25 or even like 24 to be like, all right, this guy isn't legit. And I'm pretty sure Carson Williams is just 22, maybe 23 years old.
23.
23. So, you want him to no, he's 22. He's actually still 22.
Oh, really?
His birthday's coming up in 10 days. Birthday's in 10 days.
I think he's, okay. Okay.
But we could call him 23. But, you just kind of want him to make sure he's ready to go, right? If I want to see Carson Williams succeed with the Rays, but I also don't want to see him take 4 years to get up here, another 2 years to get up here and do it. So that's my Carson Williams moment for this podcast.
Okay. Yeah. Good deal. All right. We're as we get into some more upcoming pods here, there's going to be some obviously deadline is going to become a bigger part of this. We've identified a few names over recent episodes. Draft talk. We're going to do a whole draft preview episode, which is going to be electric. We are up 2-0 here against the Dodgers in a big old series, and we'll see what we can do. This is a good test for us. I don't have a whole lot else. We banked the wins early in the year. I want to see us still play top 10 team in the league baseball as we continue through the summer months, just to we still got a good edge in front of the Blue Jays, Orioles, and the Red Sox are in the basement. But, we're no longer in first place. The Yanks, without Aaron Judge, have overtaken us. And we just have to continue to look ahead. We banked wins, and can we play, 580 win percentage ball here on out?
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of shooting in this American League for maybe like 92 wins is probably a wild card spot, maybe 88 wins because it's just not very strong. Looking ahead in terms of what the Rays have after this Dodger series, they go back to the Trop and they have a 10-game homestand against the Nationals, the Royals, and the Diamondbacks at home. So that's a pretty good way you can end out your month if you're the Rays, right? You haven't had the best June, but you have a really nice second half of the month. And then right after that, you go on the road and then you have a 4-game set with the Yanks back in the Trop. So there's a lot to, I would say, the grass is greener on the other side, right? There is light at the end of the tunnel. Like this team, like I opened with, they're 14 games above 500.
And most of that's at home. They're 15 games above 500 at home and 1 game under on the road.
Yeah, the Trop is real. The Trop effect is it's real for these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I'm going to get ready to lock into some Rays Dodgers here. You got a closer for us?
I do. I have a closer. It has nothing to do with baseball.
Really?
I got to shout out the Carolina Hurricanes, baby. I know this is a Rays pod. There's probably a lot of Lightning fans. I live in the great state of North Carolina, right outside Raleigh. Let's go Canes, baby. That's what I'm talking about. I'll be at that parade on Saturday. I plan to be there.
Well, congratulations to you and yours. Taking down the terrorist Golden Knights. It was the Golden Knights, right?
Yep, the Golden Knights.
I cannot believe how quickly they've become such a force, being an expansion team. It was probably like 7 or 8 years ago by now. The time flies, but
yeah.
Didn't they make the finals in like their first season?
Yeah, they made the Stanley Cup in their first season as a team.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which is just nuts. But congratulations to your Hurricanes.
Yep, let's go Canes, baby.
All right. Well, we'll be back soon here on the opener. Let's enjoy a fun series in LA. And that's all we got. Take care, and we'll see you soon.
Raise up.
Raise up.